You know, growing up, we're told so many things. It's this constant stream of instructions. Be polite, wait your turn, keep your head down,
Mhm.
and probably the most damaging one of all, be realistic. Today, we were taking realistic, crumpling it up, and just tossing it out the window. We're unpacking a deep dive that argues getting rich. It isn't about luck.
Right. And it's not about being born with a silver spoon.
Exactly. And it's definitely not about lowering your expectations just to fit into some cubicle.
Realistic is. I mean, it's often just a polite code word for settling. And you're right. Usually when we talk about wealth, we're looking at charts from some ivory tower economist
Yeah.
or, a guy who inherited a trust fund. Today is different. We are looking at a roadmap from Mark Tilbury.
I love this guy's background because it destroys the excuse that you need a head start. He describes himself not as a guru, but as a ginger working class kid who started with like absolutely zero advantages.
No rich uncle, no connections.
None of that. Just a kid who decided the system wasn't built for him. And his central idea is pretty controversial for some people. He says, look, becoming a millionaire in your 50s or 60s is fine, sure, but doing it young, that is the real goal.
And to do that, you can't follow the standard operating procedure. If you
That's
follow the
it.
herd, you end up where the herd ends up, which is, usually broke or just getting by.
Right.
So the mission for this deep dive is really to serve as a wake-up call.
Hmm.
We're going to look at how to break that herd mentality.
Hmm.
We're going to analyze a strategy that combines this sort of punk rock irreverence for the system
Hmm.
with incredibly strict financial discipline.
It's a fascinating mix, isn't it? We're going to cover why you should probably stop taking financial advice from your parents, even if they love you. We're going to break down something called the 10 solutions strategy, which is honestly a game changer for problem solving.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the specific 3-fund portfolio that balances out all the chaos. So let's unpack this.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so we have to start with the origin story. And it starts, like so many of these stories do, in school. Tilbury shares this pivotal moment where he's sitting in a lecture theater. The teacher asks everyone to write down 3 things. Dream job, dream car, dream
The
house.
standard exercise, right?
Oh.
Just trying to get the kids to think about the future.
Right. So, young Mark, full of optimism, he writes
It's a
down.
big 3.
Business owner, Ferrari, mansion. He's excited. He's putting it out there. He hands it in.
And this is where the system just pushes back.
Hard. The teacher looks at this list and says, and this is a quote, "Life is going to be tough, so I'm going to break the hard news to you now. You're probably going to have none of those things. So be realistic and lower your expectations."
Wow. That is such a critical moment. It's actually painful to hear, but we need to analyze what's happening there.
Yeah.
This isn't just one grumpy teacher having a bad day. This is the system trying to, regulate ambition.
Yeah.
The source argues that if you let the system, whether it's school, society, whatever, crush your belief that wealth is even possible, you've lost the game before you've even started.
It's the dream crusher. It's almost like they want to prepare you for disappointment instead of success.
Well, think about what the school system was actually designed for. It was designed during the Industrial Revolution to create, compliant factory workers,
Right. Not CEOs.
not CEOs or disruptors. If you don't believe the destination exists, you will never, ever do the work to get there. Why would you sacrifice or save or take risks for a mansion that an authority figure just told you is impossible for you?
So it's not just some fluffy mindset talk. It's about rejecting a specific type of programming.
Exactly. It's the programming that trains you to be an employee, not an owner. Tilbury's point is that he carried that defiance, that refusal to be realistic, his entire life. And that defiance is the fuel for everything that comes next.
Which leads us to maybe the spiciest take in this entire deep dive, the unsolicited advice filter. He basically says, be extremely careful who you listen to. And he explicitly includes friends and parents in that warning.
And this is where people get really uncomfortable. We're taught to respect our elders, listen to our family. But if you look at the logic here, it's about auditing your influences. The argument is, if your parents or your best friends haven't built a large sum of wealth themselves, their financial advice is technically invalid.
That sounds so harsh. I mean, my mom gives great life advice.
Of course. And for relationships or, how to be a kind person, listen to her. But for building an empire, I mean, think about it this way. If you wanted to learn how to fly a fighter jet, would you ask someone who has only ever driven a Honda Civic?
No, that would be insane.
Yet, we take money advice from people living paycheck to paycheck all the time. They might love you. They have good intentions. They want you to be safe.
But safe often leads to mediocrity.
Exactly. If you want extraordinary results, You cannot listen to people who have achieved ordinary results.
So you have to separate the affection from the expertise. You can love them, but you ignore their advice on money.
You have to break from the herd. And sometimes the herd includes the people closest to you. But here's the catch. Breaking away brings obstacles. When you stop following the beaten path, you hit thick brush, you hit walls, and this is where most people quit.
Right. They hit one wall, a business idea fails, they don't get a loan, and they say, see, the teacher was right. It's impossible.
And this is where the 10 solutions strategy comes in. I absolutely love this because it's so tactical. It's not just don't give up. It's a real framework for when you're stuck.
It really is.
The concept is simple, but it's mentally demanding. When you face a problem that looks impossible, an absolute dead end, you are not allowed to accept defeat until you have forced yourself to brainstorm at least 10 unique solutions.
10. That actually sounds exhausting.
It is supposed to be. The first 2, 3 are easy. Ask for help, Google it, try again.
Sure, the obvious ones.
But those are the solutions everyone tries. When you get to solution number 7, 8, 9, that's where the pain starts. But that is also where the creativity happens. That's where you find the back door that everyone else missed because they quit at solution 3.
So you force your brain to dig deeper than it naturally wants to.
Then you run the list.
Yeah.
Sequentially. Try solution 1. If it fails, try solution 2. The source argues this does 2 things. 1, it usually solves the problem because you're trying things no one else is. But 2, and this is more important, it cements the habit of resilience. You stop seeing walls as walls. You start seeing them as puzzles.
I can see how that would change your entire operating system. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a problem solver.
A rebel. You become somebody who just refuses to take no for an answer from the universe.
Speaking of rebels, Tilbury uses a great analogy involving a certain boy wizard. He says, if Harry Potter stayed in the cupboard under the stairs, he never would have defeated Voldemort.
The cupboard is the comfort zone. It's safe. It's predictable.
But no magic happens there.
Exactly. You have to step out to face the trolls.
And he backs this up with a really specific story from his own life. He wasn't always a millionaire. You know, he was working as a carpenter's apprentice. He was 20 years old doing the grind. And he had this manager who just had it out for him, bullied him every day, gave him the absolute rubbish jobs.
This is a situation so many listeners will recognize. That dread of Monday morning.
Oh, absolutely. And he describes coming home, sitting on his couch, looking around his room, and just realizing he was at a crossroads. He was terrified to quit. That's that realistic fear kicking in. What if I can't find another job? But then he had this epiphany about risk.
This is the risk flip. We usually see risk as the action, quitting the job, starting the business.
Right.
But Tilbury realized the real risk was inaction. The real risk was staying in that dead-end job, being bullied, and waking up at 60 having done nothing with his life.
That's a powerful reframe. The risk isn't trying and failing. The risk is staying and regretting.
He realized he had nothing to lose. No wife, no kids, just a 20-year-old with his whole life ahead of him. So he quit the next day.
Wow.
And that leads to a broader point about career strategy. The source cites studies showing that job-hopping, moving companies every few years often builds wealth significantly faster than loyalty.
That is a hard pill to swallow for the company man generation.
Loyalty to a company is often a one-way street that depresses your wages, relative to the market. If you stay, you get a 3% raise. If you leave, you might get a 20% bump.
Right.
But if you do choose the employee route, the advice here is specific. Pick a career based on results achieved, not hours worked.
Explain that distinction for us.
Well, if you're paid for your time, your income is capped by the clock. There are only 24 hours in a day. You can never scale. If you're paid for results, sales, commissions, equity, your income is theoretically uncapped. You can make a year's salary in a month if you deliver the results.
Okay, so that covers the offense, how to go out and aggressively earn the money. But Tilbury points out a massive trap here. You can be great at offense and terrible at defense. You can make money and just lose it all.
Right. Making money requires hustle. Keeping and growing money requires the opposite. It requires patience and suppressing your ego. And this is where Tilbury almost blew it early on.
This brings us to a hilarious story about investing, the work experience kid. So Tilbury is busy running his model shop, which was his first big business success, and he gets this work experience kid, 14 years old. And the kid spends the whole first day just yapping about stocks and shares.
Which is pretty unusual for a 14-year-old. Usually they're talking about video games or something.
Right. And the kid tells him about this one specific stock. He says, it's going to the moon. I'm putting my whole 1,000-pound savings in. And Tilbury thinks, well, if he's that confident, I'll have a punt.
A classic fear of missing out moment. Following the herd again, in a way.
He invests. 2 weeks later, the stock 10x's overnight.
10 times. That's a lottery ticket.
He tells the kid, you made 10 grand today. And the kid is like, I don't get paid. I'm on work experience.
It's a great story, but we have to pause here because this is the danger zone. The expert inside me is just screaming.
Why? He made money.
He did, but the source himself admits it. That was luck. That was gambling, not investing. And if you try to replicate that, taking stock tips from teenagers and hoping for a 10x overnight, you will go broke. You cannot build a future on hitting the jackpot.
So pivot us to the reality. What does the data say about how you actually grow wealth without banking on a miracle?
The source points to a fidelity study that is just. It's crucial for anyone listening. It's about the debate between time in the market versus timing the market.
Break that down for us.
The study looked at the past 4 decades of the stock market. If you had just left your money invested, you'd have done well. But if you tried to trade in and out and you missed just the 5 best trading days in 40 years, just 5 days, your long-term gains would be reduced by 38%.
Wait, back up. You're saying if I went on a hike and forgot to check my phone on those 5 specific days, I lose almost half my growth.
It sounds fake, doesn't it? But it's because the market's biggest gains often happen immediately after the biggest drops. It's volatile.
Okay.
If you sell during the drop to stay safe, you aren't in the room when the rebound happens. And if you miss the 10 best days, you lose out on 55% of the gains.
That is just staggering. So the strategy is literally, don't touch it.
Exactly. You have to be in the game to win. You can't sit on the sidelines waiting for the perfect moment to buy because the big jumps happen instantly and unpredictably.
But jumping in can be scary. He mentions paper trading as a way to bridge that gap, right?
Yes. Paper trading is using virtual money on real market data. It's like a flight simulator for investing. You can crash the plane without dying.
Right.
But, and this is a big but, you have to treat it like real money. If you treat it like a video game, you learn nothing about the emotional discipline required when your actual savings are on the line.
Emotional discipline is key, because lack of discipline. Well, that leads us to the cautionary tale of this deep dive. The story of the rich friend.
This story is tragic, but it illustrates the concept of leverage perfectly.
So Tilbury had this friend, top 50 UK rich list, owned a mansion, threw these massive firework parties. A proper tycoon.
A guy everyone wants to be, the guy who looks like he has won the game.
And Tilbury asks him, how do you make this much money? And the friend says, I leverage my investments. I join groups that get 30, 40, 50% returns a year.
Red flags should be flying everywhere right now. If someone promises 50% returns, you run.
Tilbury thought it sounded too good to be true, so he stayed out. A few months later, the group goes under.
And because the friend was leveraged, meaning he was investing with borrowed money, he didn't just lose his investment.
What actually happens there?
Well, think of leverage like driving a car at 200 miles per hour. If you get to the destination, you get there fast. But if you hit a pebble, just a tiny market pip, you don't just get a flat tire, the car explodes. Because he borrowed money to invest. When the investment dropped, he owed the bank more money than he actually had.
He lost the mansion, he lost it all.
That is the danger of leverage and complexity. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. And never put all your eggs in one basket. This friend was all in on one high-risk strategy.
So how does Tilbury avoid ending up like his friend? He uses something called the 3-fund portfolio. Now, to me, this sounds way more boring than 50% returns.
But I'm guessing that's the point. Boring makes you rich. Exciting makes you broke. The 3-fund portfolio is a masterclass in simplicity and diversification. It's designed to weather any storm.
Walk us through the 3 buckets.
First, a total U.S. stock market index fund. This gives you ownership in the biggest economy in the world. Apple, Amazon, Google, all of them. It's your growth engine.
Okay. Bucket 2.
A total international stock index fund. This is crucial because, sometimes the U.S. economy struggles while Europe or Asia booms. By holding this, you're hedging your bets.
Makes sense. And the 3rd?
A total bond market fund. Bonds are basically loans to governments and companies. They don't grow as fast as stocks, but they're much, much safer.
So why do we need the safe stuff if we're young and trying to grow?
It's all about correlation. Usually, when stocks are having a panic attack and crashing, bonds are the boring adult in the room keeping things stable. By holding all three, you aren't trying to pick the winner, you're buying the whole casino.
It covers all the bases: growth, geographic diversity, and safety.
It reduces risk while still capturing the growth we talked about. It's the strategy of someone who wants to stay rich, not just get rich lucky.
But he doesn't stop at stocks. And this leads to our final segment, the empire mindset. We're talking income streams.
Right. Even with a perfect portfolio, if the stock market crashes tomorrow, you don't want to be destitute. Tilbury is a huge advocate for hard assets and multiple income streams.
He mentions classic cars and high-end timepieces, which sounds fun, but also kind of risky.
They can be investments if you know what you're doing, but the bigger picture here is his list of income sources. He doesn't just have a salary. He builds what I like to call a fortress of income.
Let's run through the list you gave. It's pretty impressive.
He has physical shops, a distribution company, affiliate income from his online work, advertising revenue, stock dividends, and rental income from real estate.
That's a lot to manage.
It is, but look at the safety it provides. If his distribution company has a bad year, his rental properties might have a great year. If the stock market dips, his ad revenue might hold steady. The core message here is, wealth is built by not depending on a single source of failure.
It really circles all the way back to that risk conversation we had at the beginning. Relying on one job is actually the riskiest thing you can do.
Precisely. If you lose that job, you are at zero. You are vulnerable. If Mark loses one stream, he's simply annoyed, but he's still wealthy. He's built a system that protects him.
So let's unpack the big takeaways here. This has been a whirlwind tour of rebellion. First, reject the realist programming. If your teacher or your parents tell you to lower your expectations, you politely ignore them.
Audit your influences. Only take advice from people who are where you want to be. If they aren't rich, don't ask them how to get rich.
Second, when you hit a wall and you will use the 10 solutions method, don't stop at the easy answers. Force your brain to find that 10th solution.
Cement the habit of resilience.
Third, take calculated risks, especially when you're young. Don't be Harry Potter in the cupboard. Get out there, switch jobs if you have to, and focus on results, not hours.
And finally, diversify like crazy. Use the 3-fund portfolio to grow your wealth steadily and build multiple streams of income so you're never vulnerable to a single point of failure.
It's a powerful blueprint. It's irreverent, it's rebellious, but it is grounded in serious strategy.
It's about taking control. It's about realizing that the system isn't designed for your extraordinary success. It's designed for your adequate participation. Breaking that mold is the first step.
I love that. Okay, if you are feeling fired up, if you are ready to stop being realistic and start building an empire, we have a specific mission for you today. We need you to go subscribe to the Investor.Mindset channel. That is where this wisdom comes from. Like the video to show the algorithm who's boss.
But most importantly, leave a comment. We want to know specifically, which of the 10 solutions are you going to apply today? What is the one obstacle in your way, and what are you going to do to smash through it?
Don't just listen, do. Subscribe to Investor Mindset, leave that comment, and start building.
And I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. If you looked at your current life, your job, your bank account, your fears through the 10 solutions lens, what impossible obstacle would simply vanish if you just refused to quit?
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.